right, so the next thing that we had was some cards that our listeners wanted to hear about.
Okay.
I posted up in our Discord, so if you were in our Discord, you had the opportunity to answer a question that I posed, and that was there anything in particular that you guys wanted us to talk about? So actually just Hor wants to know, is Multani, Scapeshift, Remnunep, Excavator, and Nahiri's Lithomancy a thing? And can it involve the desert that gives a zombie when it's put into the graveyard?
Oh, uh-huh.
That was the exact face that I made.
So Multani gets power and toughness equal to the lands in the battlefield and in the graveyard.
Correct.
Does he return forests to your hand?
I'm not sure.
To return them from your graveyard to your hand. Because he could return stuff.
Right.
We did it. Okay, so he becomes big.
Yep.
And then we sack the land that makes a zombie with lithomancy. Okay. Nahiri's lithoforming, before we get too deep down this rabbit hole.
Okay.
X for red. Sorcery. Sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrificed this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tapped this turn. So this gives you a way to sack lands and draw cards, which makes your Multani big. Rounding up Excavator lets you play lands out of your graveyard. Ancient Green Warden also might be better at doing that. The zombie land seems like a stretch.
It does seem like a stretch.
I mean, but anything that like lets you play, because it doesn't say where you have to play the lands from lithoforming. So you can sack all your lands with like a Crucible of the Worlds or Excavator and just play them all out of your graveyard.
Right.
And just kind of not be down anything. So like if your lithoforming is like draw 8, that's fine. And you don't have a downside. I think again the dream, the impossible dream that has been floated by Brian Gottlieb on Twitter is Lotus Cobra. As then you're playing all your lands off lithoforming and you're getting mana for them.
And with Green Warden, you make 2 mana?
You make 2 mana. And then you hopefully draw another lithoforming and then you just do it again.
Kind of like Hydroid Crisis, drawing another Hydroid Crisis?
Yeah. The payoff is not as non-convoluted. Right? This is like you got a lot of moving pieces.
Right.
Like, I think you said that you looked at it and thought this is bad Scapeshift.
That's exactly what I thought when I read the card.
I read the card and was like, this is stone unplayable. I was like, this is not a thing. I mean, people seem excited about it, but it does feel like you need a lot of moving pieces.
What about this card in other formats that have ways to pitch cards in your hand for an effect? WinCon for Adnaz is it Lightning Storm?
Lightning Storm.
Kind of does a similar, like if you can set up that combo and do like a similar thing. I mean, I know it's not as good as Adnaz, but...
Oh, where you would use like lithoforming as like your draw spell?
Or like reanimate, what's his name that lets you fling lands? Bobarigmos?
Bobarigmos? But like you don't necessarily have those lands in your hand, right?
No, but I mean, if you can set this engine up, you can hypothetically draw your deck.
And then just do whatever. But like, is the engine something you can set up like consistently? Like, can you...
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Lotus Cobra, Ancient Green Warden, and play everything.
I mean, you could also pair it with, like I had mentioned earlier, you could pair it with the retreats.
And just like get value off of like the lands that you get to bring back. Like that could work.
Yeah, I mean, the black retreat drains every time a land enters a battlefield.
Yeah, so if you could just like play all your lands that you put in your graveyard back out, yeah, that could work. It seems like a lot of steps though.
It does, yeah. I didn't say it was good. I was just trying to think of things you could do.
Here's the next one. I don't know who sent this one in.
This is Dunford.
Dunford wants to know about Null Priest of Oblivion.
Yeah.
1 in a black for a Vampire Cleric.
Yep.
With Kicker 3 in a black. It is a 2/1.
Menace Lifelink.
Menace Lifelink, that's just fine. That's like a fine aggressive card. And then Null Priest of Oblivion enters the battlefield, and if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. We take all the other text off. 1 mana, 2/1, Menace Lifelink.
2 mana, 2/1.
2 mana, 2/1.
Yep.
Menace Lifelink. Fine.
So it's a slightly better Child of the Night.
Slightly better Child of Night. Correct. You're not super pumped for it, but like it's not wholly embarrassing. But then late in the game, it's get back your best creature, be a 2/1.
Menace lifelink.
Menace lifelink.
Yeah.
So like it's the like good early, good late argument, right? It's a fine card early, a fine card or better than fine card, or a good card late. Like it's a zombify for 1 extra mana that gives you a 2/1 in addition to zombifying something.
It's also recurable. Like if you have a way to cast creatures out of your graveyard.
Oh yeah. If you can cast, yeah.
Like typically things you can loop like that have an exile clause.
Yeah, and this doesn't exile.
This doesn't. So it is something you could do over and over again.
I don't know. There's a certain red 2-drop that lets you cast stuff out of your graveyard.
Yes, there is.
I'm just saying.
You would still need all the mana, though.
You would still need all the mana. There's a certain Sultai card that lets you exile cards from your graveyard to get 1 colorless mana.
This is true.
Okay, we're 4 colors now.
And you're also using your graveyard in 3 different ways.
Hey.
I hope you have a way to flip your deck.
Every part of the buffalo. Like, I think this is a card that, like, mid-range deck is a card that, like, you play on turn 2 to trade with something or, like, blunt aggression or, like, put a clock on. And then when you draw it on turn 8, it's just cool. I didn't draw my crappy 2-drop.
Yeah.
I drew 2-drop plus reanimation spell. So, like, I think it's good for the fact that it's good early and late. This next one has been like a frequent guest of the podcast so far. That's Ancient Green Warden.
Yep. We talked about it a minute ago, but we didn't read it. So I guess we'll read it now. It's 4 green for a 5/7 elemental with reach. You may play lands from your graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of permanence you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time.
Panharmonicon for lands. Strapped on a 5/7 body.
Yeah, it's a big thing with reach.
The reach feels like tacked on. They're like, oh man, we have room for 2 lines of flavor text? No. No, we only have 1 line of flavor text on this card. We need an extra ability.
Well, it feels like World Breaker, right?
It does.
It's just like a big thing that randomly has reach. Oh yeah, you need reach.
That will eat many creatures because people don't know it has reach.
Right.
Like this thing's just the Brazen Borrower killer.
Yep.
They're just like attack and you're just like
snipe.
Block and oh no.
Oh yeah.
Shame, concede, move on. Like it has some weird like combo potential. Let's say you had an Omnath. Your first land drop gets you 8 life. Your second land drop gets you 8 mana. Your third land drop wins you the game.
Yeah, basically.
Again, it has that same like constructed like standard Pioneer Modern problem of it doesn't do anything when it comes to the battlefield.
And it's 6 mana.
Elder Gargaroth doesn't do anything when it comes in the battlefield, but it buries them. Whereas this requires you to do more work. Like, I think this is, again, like a great commander card. Love the idea of an Avenger of Zendikar wash over you.
Yikes.
So, like, this Avenger fetch land. Make a bunch of giant plants.
Yeah.
That's probably where its home is. Like, people are kind of building around it for, like, its Lotus Cobra synergies.
Which I think is also fine.
Here's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Lunarch Aspirant.
Yep. This is 1 and a white for a 1/1 cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
And this nerd is a 1/1. Secretly, this is a 2-mana 2/2 because you can just put the counter on itself.
Yep.
Right, you just be like, okay, it's on me. It's a human, which is a relevant creature type for like modern and for Pioneer.
Yep.
But I just don't think it's good enough.
I don't think so either. I think you have to be doing something with those counters.
Or this is secretly a green-white card, and you play like Conclave Mentor in this, and you just want it to get like, get like your double counter synergies. Or it's like secretly an Abzan card, and it goes with Winding Constrictor and Conclave Mentor. A 2-drop that puts counters on something like Thalia's Lieutenant is like a million times better than this. I mean, I guess this is a card that like in Limited, they play it on 2. And then it's like it kills you on turn 12, 13 or whatever. And
it's made every one of their creatures ahead of curve.
Yeah, it's just made everything a little bit bigger. But like, I just don't think that this is the kind of advantage we can like leverage in constructed Magic.
There's nothing that like spreads counters out, right?
I don't think where like if
Anytime a counter's put on this creature, put a counter on every other creature or another creature.
there might be
That
something.
sounds familiar.
It does. I can't think of what it is. I feel like I played it at some point in like some goofy deck, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't see like I don't think that card, whatever it is that we're thinking of, I don't think it play in like real constructed.
And then we have Morog, which we talked about last week a little bit. This is Morog, Fury of Akum, 4 red for a 6/6 Minotaur Warrior, legendary. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it attacked this turn. And it has landfall. Whenever a land enters a battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control.
Have you read the rules clarification for this guy?
I have not.
If you play the land in your second main phase, you go to a next untap. You don't go to a next combat step, but you immediately go to the end step after that attack step. There's no second main phase. There's no like second main phase.
But there can be more than one combat step.
There can be more than one combat step, but you can't like it's not like you get to attack and then have a main phase again.
No,
you go right to your end step. Let's say you play the land on your first main phase, you get an additional combat step before your actual combat step.
So all your stuff won't untap during your actual combat step.
You would have to like tap your creatures for like advantage somehow, and then play your land to untap them to get something. I think it's fine. Like
Ancient Green Warden doubles the landfall triggers.
Whew. Everyone has to report when they lose in their sealed to
the double mythic.
Yeah, Morag into Ancient Green Warden.
Play a land.
And then they play a land, and then you take like 70. I think this card is secretly 7 mana. I think it has to
you want to get that combat.
And it's also awkward that like you have to like wait. You have to play him on like your second main phase because you can't play him pre-combat because then he just gets killed before you get any value.
Yeah.
So I think it's like second main phase, this guy, play a land. Yeah, I also think like, isn't this like the Minotaur commander we've been looking for?
Probably. I don't remember what the Jumpstart Minotaur commander does, but yeah, this one seems pretty good.
Minotaurs. Again, like it has the like it doesn't do anything when it comes into play. At some point we'll probably have fun like taking all the attack steps one game.
Oh yeah.
Pretty sweet.
It's it's cool that it untaps your creatures because that kind of combos well with Combat Celebrant, right?
Oh yeah. Ooh.
It gets you an extra attack.
Well, I don't think you can exert it a second time in the same turn.
No, you can't, just one.
This next card might be really good. Or a Skyclave Hierophant.
Skyclave doesn't fly.
Doesn't fly. He has lifelink though. For 2 and a black, he's a 3/3 legendary creature, core cleric. Whenever this or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. If like you have a sack outlet,
you just get to go down the chain.
You just go down the chain. So if those have good enter the battlefield abilities, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there was didn't we just talk about a cleric that like banished or
whenever another cleric came into play?
Yeah,
like he went down the chain.
Yeah.
Null Priest of Oblivion is also a cleric. That has a good enter the battlefield ability, but it's your 2. In older formats, what was the black white? Was it Battle for Zendikar?
Oh yeah, Ailey.
Yeah,
Eternal Pilgrim or something.
Yeah. You paid like 1 and sacked a creature and like drained them or gain life or you did something.
Yeah, you got to do something.
But like,
she was a cleric.
Yeah, but if you get to go down the chain and just like, okay, I have 3 mana, I'm gonna like trigger 3 enter the battlefield abilities. Make my little vampire guy like bigger. And it doesn't say like when. It's not like on a certain turn. You block with your 3-drop on their turn, and you put in a 2-drop. It becomes really hard to kill you to like wipe your board. Or if you have multiples out and you get wrathed, and you just like put a bunch of creatures back into play.
Yep.
It feels like there might be something that's just like exploitable and busted, where you can like loop
Could
it, and getting stuff back for free.
The black mythic dual faced card kind of lets you reset too.
Yeah, you just like you pay 6 mana, you put those back in, and then you just go back down the chain again.
And then the last card that we were asked to talk about was Lithoform Engine, Wall of Text. This is a 4-mana legendary artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it to copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You choose new targets for the copy. You can pay 3 mana and tap it to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose targets for the copy. Or you can pay 4 mana and tap it to copy target permanent spell you control.
It becomes a token. It is really weird. It is like a collection of abilities we've not ever seen all on a card before. Remember Mirror Pool? This is like Mirror Pool, except for not a land. Again, I go to my like safe place of I don't see where this can be played and constructed, but I'm assuming that there were like 100 commander decks that like threw out some other card and put this card in. Like when it was spoiled, they put in their pre-order for their foil and they got rid of one card and this is going in.
What does Zerta do? It decreases activate abilities by 2?
2.
Yeah,
So like
I don't know how you can break this. I don't think it's cheap enough to break.
I don't know, like what if you're playing like Kozilek as your commander and you cast it and then you just draw a bunch of cards?
Well, I wasn't thinking about Kozilek. I was trying to think of something you could do like in constructed. Zerta, you get 1 mana copies of instants and sorceries.
Yeah, we can like Zerta can't make stuff 0, right? Zerta can only make stuff 1.
I think it can only make stuff 1. Or you get 2 mana copy permanents
as they come into play. Again, like a card that you play on 4 and constructed and then doesn't pay you, or you have to then do a bunch of work.
Yeah.
Is hard to be like.
Yeah, I am not in for this card.
Like, I don't see what you can do with it in constructed that just doesn't get you like run down. I don't think I am looking to play this card.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stupid stuff you can do with it in Commander. Like, there's got to be some sort of chain with, like, you know, whenever an artifact comes into play, untap artifacts you control, something, and just go off. But
I guess they already banned Paradox Engine. Like, you just can't keep floating, like, infinite untaps.
That's where it'll be broken, Commander. I don't think it'll be broken in regular constructed competitive formats.
If you do, let us know, because it is pretty sweet.
Yeah.